Yo. Hello. So, yes, I have completely finished all of the Scream franchise. And correction, I was wrong. Scream 7 doesn't come out until February 27th. So, still got a little bit of time with that. I was 4 days off, but hey, it's all good. We was in the 20 range. We was in the ball field. But essentially what I wanted to do is a new movie that came out not too long ago, and I wanted to cover it. I wanted to do a review on it because I am a fan of the Predator and Alien movies, of that franchise just in general. So definitely wanted to bring it up. At least I have at least about 20 key points. I have at least about 20 key points to be 100% with you. I have about 20 key points, but let's go ahead and get into it. Go ahead and like, follow, subscribe. You know, hey, go ahead and let me know what movies y'all would want me to be interested in or to check out so I can do a review. I could talk about my favorite parts. You could write in the comments, talk about your favorite parts, and I bring it up to you and whatnot, or I just, I review it in when I do the video. But let's go ahead and go towards this generational growth. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. But your key characters, you're looking at Deck, who is the main character. The father, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I'm just gonna spell it. It's Njohrr. Not sure how to pronounce that. Um, Deck's brother, Quay, Kwei. And then there is, because it's Dakota Fanning, that is the character that is playing Thea and Tessa. I have them pretty much just like it's Thea slash Tessa, since it's pretty much the same person. And then of course Bud. Bud isn't a actual speaking character in the movie, but he does play a significant part. So let's go ahead and get into it. Key point number one. The Yautja being the real name of these specific aliens. For the most part, don't get me wrong, I didn't know up until like last year, or I think it was the year before that. I didn't know that Alien and Predator comics were a thing. So to see that in the comics they're referring to each other as Yautjas, I was like, the fuck is a Yautja? But Predator is just the name that I guess Americans, or that the people that ran into predators or ran into Yautjas, we just called them predators. But their real actual alien name is Yautja. It's Yautja. It's weird. But I mean, it's the same thing for like aliens, because their real name is Xenomorph. So, it's just what we're calling them in comparison to what they're actually being called. So that being a key point. Another key point is when you're watching the movie, there comes like a little insert where it's like Yautja are prey to none, friend to none, predator to all. And I wrote down some little extra parts about that because I found it ironic. Talking about Yautja are prey to none. So what is it when literally you have in AVP, you have the aliens that are hunting the predators. They're going after the predators. So like, can you say they're being hunted, or can you say that they're on equal ground? And then friend to no one. AVP definitely had Sanaa Lathan as, I mean, in the movie Predator Badlands, Deck refers to Thea as a tool. I don't think that in AVP, those predators, they would have referred to Sanaa Lathan's character as a tool, because they gave her a weapon and something to shield herself with. They treated her as if she was another warrior. So maybe this is just because there's different variations of the Yautjas on Yautja Prom. So maybe this is just their their codex. That's just their way of thinking. Maybe, who knows? And then predator to all, it's like, because I mean, in so many movies, you've seen that the predator essentially, when the roles reverse, when after a while Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's having all his teammates killed, or all of his battle buddies killed and whatnot. Then all of a sudden he turns the table. The Predator's being hunted down. Same thing with not Danny Glover. Danny Glover. After a while, the roles get reversed. So that's like, I don't know. I think that was just some cool shit that they just wanted to say, but hey. Another key point is this is one of the first Predators that we get to see that actually has a fang missing. For the most part, when you see Predators, they usually have on the mask, but when they actually take it off, you see these like kind of like little thingies on their face and shit, right? They have these little thingies on their face, but one of theirs is actually chipped, and it's spoilers. Go ahead and give spoilers out now. It actually comes from a Yautja children's toy. So that is what is incredible. That's what is almost like kind of like a testament to how tough the Predators are, that their toy is something that can kill you. That their children's toy is something that can take you out, that can kill you. And even Quay in the beginning of the movie, near the beginning of the movie, or like a little bit into the movie, Deck sees that Quay has still held on to that toy, and he's like, "You still held on to it?" And he was like, "It's more like a remembrance. You saved my life and stuff like that." So it's the idea that even though Deck looks defective because he has his chipped fang, it's because he saved his brother. So it's honestly kind of cool. And then also another thing too that I wanted to say is 2 points to also just add on to that is the whole movie Prey. I'm talking about you pray to no one. There's a whole, little do you know, there's a whole movie out about how you are prey. But then also, this is the first Predator that we get to see, or the first Yautja that we get to see that has a ponytail. Usually when we see Yautjas, when we see Predators, their tendrils are always just hanging down. And I think even in Predator Badlands, the animated film, there's a Predator that's flying in like some kind of spacecraft, and I don't think they have any tendrils. I think it's just like complete just head, but I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a while, so I could be wrong. But moving forward, this is the second time we get to see Yautja Prime. The first time we get to see Yautja Prime is in AVP Requiem, when they then refer to the more mature Yautja that is going to Earth to go and get the xenomorph Yautja hybrid. That's the first time we get to see Yautja Prime. But then when we see Yautja Prime in that angle, that's what just lets you know that there's different classifications of Predators. Because when we see AVP Requiem, we see Yautja Prime in the background. That looks way different in comparison to when we see when we see Predator Badlands and we see that area, which more just looks like a desert. It all kind of looks deserted, but more of like a deserted rural ground, like a deserted like town city looking area in comparison to a deserted like desert. Also in the beginning we get to see new technology. For the most part, when you see the Yautjas arriving on a planet, mainly Earth, they just arrive. They arrive on some spacecraft, and then they're walking a good majority of wherever they have to go, or they're running or jumping or some of the sort. So to see in the beginning of the movie, to see Deck is riding some kind of mobile device. He's on some kind of craft. He's on something that is kind of like levitating. It looks almost like a cruiser, one of those things on Star Wars that like when Luke was in the woods and he was like kind of maneuvering through the trees. It looks like more one of those type things. And then also the rappel thing, like the red kind of I don't want to call it a grappling hook because it didn't have a hook or anything on it, but he kind of like shot it up and it kind of like zip lined him up there. Just definitely new technology. And then even with the sword, I've seen Predators with a spear, seen them throw the net, that cool kind of frisbee looking device and whatnot. I don't recall ever seeing a Predator with a sword. I mean, I've seen them with the little hand things come out like that, but an actual like handheld sword. And then it was almost like a lightsaber, or at least like, you know, in the Star Wars movies with Rey, and they have like the protectors that are in like the guardian people that are in all red, but they have like a blade, but it has like a buzzing kind of red, like a laser on the top of it. It kind of reminds me of that. Like, I wonder if they got influence from that. Um, the fact that he's having to earn his cloak, I think that that was something very of significant. And then because of the fact you see how much this cloak means, how much it's used. Like, you know, for the most part, when we're going based on some of the movies, some of the Predator movies, of course the Predators, the Yautjas are using their cloak, but to see in this movie the way that they speak about it in comparison to how it was proposed in the movies. In the movies, it just seemed like it was just something that they had, almost damn near almost an ability. It just seemed like something that they had in comparison to in this movie, Predator Badlands. It's something that you have to earn. You're not just going to get, you're not just going to get a cloak. You're not just going to get one. That doesn't come with your day one package. Like, no, you have to earn it. First time we're seeing a familial relationship. We see Deck in the beginning. He is fighting against a larger predator, which ends up being Quay, who is his brother. But then we also hear in their dialect when they're going back and forth, Quay is saying how you fight with so much rage, you fight with so much animosity and stuff like that. And Deck is like, I fight like father. So not only solidifying the fact that they're brothers, but they also share the same father. Um, Definitely something of significance. And then even when Deck and Quay are done training, when their father shows up, that was another significant point too, because I've never seen I've never seen a predator or a Yautja with any other colored locks or tendrils. His locks were white. I thought that was definitely of significance. Because even with some of the predators, like I want to say, even in AVP with Sanaa Lathan, that predator or clan leader was visibly older. But I don't. He didn't have any. He didn't have black. He didn't have gray. I don't think that he did. I don't think he had gray locks or tendrils. I think they were just black. But so that was significant. But also when you see their father, you see how the difference in how Quay speaks to his father and how he speaks to his brother. And then even the fact that when the father arrives, the father doesn't even acknowledge Deck. Deck literally cuts his hand, and you see he's bleeding. He's like, "This is a tribute to you, father. With you, welcome, father. You know, this, that, and the third." And literally, his father is just like, why isn't it done? Why haven't you killed him? Why isn't it done yet? Why is he still alive?" Like, he's looking at Quay like this, and Quay is more so saying like, "Hey, he deserves a hunt. He deserves a chance." So he's more so like not on equal grounds with his father, but he's more so like he's like, even though it's a clan leader, he still has that ability to speak to him like, "Hey, look, this, that, and the third." Um, so seeing the familiar relationship, and then also spoiler, the fact that, you know, we never get to see a female predator or a female Yautja. We've never seen one. Well, in the movies. But the fact that at the end, you see everybody, all the predators, they're picking out their swords and they're, you know, looking tough and stuff like that, right? And then, you know, Thea's looking at Deck like, "What's that?" And he's like, "It's my mother." So then it's just a power difference. Like, you see the father is here. Why, if that's the mom, why is she all the way over here and she's just not, she arrives after he gets killed? Like, what happened? But this is also the first time seeing predators train. Because the closest thing that we got to actually seeing predators train was in AVP, because all of those predators were supposedly brothers. So that's the closest thing we get to see of them actually training. But to see the brothers interact with each other, that definitely was a moment. Quaid telling his brother, "You still have so much to prove." And you can tell Deck wants to prove himself. Like literally when they're training, Quay looks at Deck and he's like, "Do you yield?" And Deck says, "Never." Quay says, "Good." And then he he cuts the pillar that he was standing on, leading Deck to fall, leading Deck to fall. Deck comes back up. Quay is just sitting there. Deck is just sitting there waiting for Deck. So it's like it's so much. It's the idea that Quay is literally that brother that Deck needed. Like it's like, hey, I got you. I got your back. This, that, and the third. I got you. I just brought it up. Father with a different colored locks. Oh, another key point. When at that point, even with Quay talking to the father and being like, "Hey, he deserves a hunt," the father is more so saying any weakness in the clan has to be cold. Cold means it has to be, you know what I'm saying? So Quay, no, the father throws something at Deck, making Deck like pretty much like kind of like bow down or get down to his knees, like pretty much like kind of like restrains him. It reminds me of something like that on Star-Lord on Guardians of the Galaxy, that blue shit that he has. It almost reminds me of that. But Deck is down and he's restrained essentially. He's looking at Quay, he's looking at his father, and he's like, "Quay, come on, man." He's like, "Come on." Like, he's not saying that because, I guess that's like more of their code to not like, beg and stuff like that, beg for their life. So he's his yelling, with him yelling, that's what you can pick up from him yelling. Like he's just yelling and you can see him, he's struggling. He's looking at Quay, he's looking at his father, and he's, ah! You know what I mean? You can just tell that's what he's just like, "Man, come on, man. Like, are you fucking serious?" Like, you know what I mean? Da, da, da. But last minute, Quay actually disrupts the barrier that was restraining Deck, and then he activates his little grappling hook, causing Deck to fly back into the spaceship. And in the process, while Quay is fighting, while Quay is like, pretty much loading up the ship and all this stuff, the father is, he goes in for an attack on Quay. And this is the key point that I wanted to bring up. I feel like if the father didn't have that cloak, I feel like, honestly, Quay would have won. Quay was holding his own against his father. I feel like his father knew that he wasn't going to win, so he ended up activating his cloak. Like, hands down, I just feel like that. Because you had Quay was holding his own against their father in comparison towards the end when Deck fights the father. There was so much of a difference. There's too much of a difference. Like Quay definitely would have had the upper hand. Another key point is when the father cut off Quay's head, it's the fact that he held the head and held it towards Deck. Like as Deck's, the ship is like taking off and leaving, he's holding the head, like holding it to him, like, you see, like you can fly. I'm gonna hold it higher. Like he's literally holding it. It's just like, yo. And then the idea is like, that's your son. Like what the? I mean, don't get me wrong. Their way of living is so much just rugged and tough, but god dang. So once Deck lands on the planet, I believe it's like a death planet or some stuff like that, almost everything is trying to kill Deck, including the plants. And that's what lets you know that this place is no joke. The plant life is trying to kill you. That lets you know that this is no joke. This is no joke. Because then even once he gets away from the plant life, there's a small like caterpillar-looking bug that's inside of a leaf. He picks the bug up. The bug then expands, and Deck throws it. It fucking explodes. It's an exploding fucking bug, bro. I'm telling you, like, this planet is not nothing to be fucked with. And then just another side note, just real quick, because I did read over that. Deck is going after the ballast. That is what he wants to hunt. for his clan to, gain some ritual. That's what he wants to hunt. And the thing with the basilisk is, spoilers, it has a strong regenerative power, and a regenerative power so strong that even their clan leader, their father, is doesn't just go up against it. But we'll get there. um Oh, also, some other exploding plant life that actually will paralyze Deck. And I wonder if, because it's some flying creature that flies in that area, so it's like, did that creature make those, or is that creature just aware? Will those things react to the creature as well, or do they just react to every other life form other than the creature? But this is when he meets Thea. He meets Thea because while he's walking through this field, there are these like almost like heat generated like paralyzing spikes. Like they're like these plant looking things that look similar to like what I'm doing with my hand right here. But when you get close to it, that mug starts to expand, and there's like these little thorns, these little needles that are on it that will shoot out and they will paralyze you. And the flying creature that is in the sky that's flying around literally knows this. So when the flying creature sees Deck, the flying creature flies down, grabs a rock, and then drops the rock close to Deck, close to the plant life as well. The plants start to explode. Deck starts to kind of not panic, but he's like, I need to get the fuck out of here. He starts to run, but then when he runs like smack dead, like face with one, and as soon as it explodes, boom, he gets pierced in the neck. Thea is calling out to him and is saying, hey, look, if you can throw something to me, if you can throw me a weapon or something, I can come and help you. I can come give you the antidote. Because she is the one that actually tells Deck about the flying creature and that these devices, these little plant things will paralyze him, and that creature is waiting for the paralyzation to take effect so that then it can fall down and eat. So last minute, Deck actually does, fall paralyzed to the plant life shit, and you see the creature that has now landed, but before it lands, before Deck like completely falls, and it just shows the aim of the Yautja, or maybe just Deck, because he throws it. Granted, it's a little off from where she's at, but I assume that he didn't want to throw it directly at her and possibly kill her and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? So throws it fairly close to her, and then she comes in and helps. But now mind you, that was the first almost end of the movie. That was the first almost end of the, no. Matter of fact, the first almost end of the movie is when Deck first lands, and them plant things that I was just talking about, that was the first almost end of the movie. There's about 4 almost ends of this movie. We just went over the first one. That's the second almost end of the movie, where he almost got killed by this flying creature. If it wasn't for that girl being there, that would have been the end of this movie. Hands down. I thought it was pretty cool that already, if you remember from any Predator movie, their blood is like a neon green color, right? So the fact that when they're at this tavern, this kind of cave looking area, he uses some of his blood in a device, and he uses that as a light source while they're just sitting there. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, so it's like, so y'all know y'all blood is like bright and shiny, right? So it's kind of cool. The fact that when you get to some of their backstory, when they're sitting there in that cave, Thea kind of establishes that she was usually in the lab, that it was Tessa who she came there with, that Tessa was usually the one that was more out in the field, more doing field operations. Thea was more behind the scenes. As Tessa is being rebooted, it shows that the Yautja is on the planet and can pose a potential threat. This is going to be important later, because I don't understand, like, if they're going for if they're going for the ballast, they don't know what the fuck the Predator is there for. I mean, I would assume that maybe I kind of retake that statement, because maybe they already know that predators have come there for the ballast, and that predators either have not survived that world or they haven't survived the ballast. So maybe it is some kind of significance. But it makes me want. We'll bring that up later. Makes me want. We'll bring it up later. The introduction to Bud, who is a child ballast. Spoilers alert! I warned you. Um, Introduction to Bud, who is a child callus. I thought that was pretty interesting because with Thea being there on that planet, it's like, so y'all have no intelligence on what a child callus or a baby callus look like. So I thought that was pretty much pretty interesting that they only know what a grown, already adult callus looks like. So when they saw that little ape-looking creature, they really didn't even, she really didn't even acknowledge it. She was just like, huh, I guess we're not alone on this hunt, but didn't really acknowledge that this might be the creature that she's looking for. But anywho, second almost end of the movie. There's some kind of bug or some kind of fly that they're in the vicinity of, and Thea was already warning Deck, but Deck is not really listening to Thea too much. And they get snatched up. And if it wasn't for Bud, if it wasn't for the baby callus, they would have died. Cause the creature was literally closing in on them, like closing. It already had Thea and Deck in its mouth. It was closing the gate. It was closing its mouth. It was about to digest them motherfuckers. If it wouldn't have been for Bud, because Bud has this adaptability to where it can harden its exoskeleton. It can harden its body and whatnot. To the point, harden his body so much to where when these giant teeth are coming down on Bud, they actually crack. Like, so that shows that Bud's skin is really tough. But it also shows testament because Deck, when they first arrive on the scene before they get introduced to Bud, Deck is like, I'm hungry, I must eat. So when he's asking Thea, what are these creatures that are just roaming around, Thea says that they're some kind of bison, armored bison, some kind of bison, I forget. And this is what the callus eats. So when Predator hears that, he's like, if this is what the callus will, the callus will eat, this is what I will eat as well. But as he, starts venturing closer towards where this bison is, he actually gets himself cut because there's grass all around, but it's razor grass. It's literally like glass-looking glass that is serrated. So that kind of makes sense for the ballast, baby ballast and whatnot, to have this exoskeleton to where they can go into this field without getting themselves hurt as well. When you get introduced to Tessa in her full-bodied form, you realize that Tessa and her team are more suited for the field. Without Tessa even looking, she's able to catch this vine-looking creature that almost killed Deck in the beginning when he first landed on the planet. It almost killed Deck in the beginning. She catches it. You know what I mean? Like, she's, you know what I mean? And then the rest of her team there, like, they with the shit. So it lets you know the difference between Tessa and Thea. Definitely lets you know. All right, so now, getting to the second page. All right, Predator Badlands continued. Bud marking Deck saves his life later. Honestly, when you watch it the first time, I'm sure there's so many people that saw that little blue creature spit on that Predator and was like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, but that literally saved his life, because when he was getting his ass whooped by the callus, as the callus got close to him, started to smell, because that callus child spit on him. Sensitivity is weakness, grieving is weakness, but we've seen predators grieve before. And this is true because we've seen in AVP, when that predator at the end, when they show up, all the rest of the predators show up at the end and they bring that predator on board. I don't care what anybody says, that's a grieving process. He's not buried. He's there. It's like they're honoring. It's like they're honoring his body. And then even on AVP Part 2, even on AVP Part 2, and even just in on AVP 2, when they come to retrieve the body after Danny Glover killed the Predator, that has to be some kind of grievance to where they will honor the body. Like, they'll honor the body. They'll go and get the body and retrieve the body back. There has to be some kind of grievance. It has to be. And then in AVP 2, we see, I believe that Predator's name was Wolf. When he sees the rest of his unit, or that spaceship that crashed, he like touches the Predator skull. He's like he does one of those. That's a sign of grievance. Get the fuck out of here. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like with some of this stuff with the movie, in this movie with Predator Badlands, there's a bunch of stuff that they're just pulling out their ass, just trying to see what new stuff they can get to stick. Like, cause that doesn't make sense. Dex setting up his sleeping spot and the child Callus copying. We don't see too many funny scenes in the Predator movies, so I thought that was something to speak about. That's really just it. I thought that was something to speak about. We don't really see too many funny scenes in Predator movies. I would say the only other scene I can think of that is somewhat funny in Predator movies is AVP, when the little Predator, the little alien xenomorph jumped out at the Predator, and he caught it, and then he snapped its neck with his thumb, and then he did like a little chill. Like, I think that's like the only funny scene I can think of, but I can't think of any other funny scenes from the Predator movies. I'm even trying to think of like Predators, like not so much like something that happened that was funny in the movie, something that the Predator itself actually did that was funny. Yes, the Predators have the technology to capture the Callus. Because when Tessa finds finds the spaceship that Deck lands in, she goes into the inventory and sees all this plethora of stuff. One of them being like a thermo grenade, or like a freeze grenade. And pretty much when Deck is fighting against the Callus, when he's fighting against the Callus is literally over Deck. And that's also when the Callus smells its daughter's, or smells its baby's spit and whatnot. And it stops from killing Deck. But in that moment, a device was exploded, and you see these just shards of just ice just start to jolt up. And it encases the Callus, and it encases Deck. So pretty much, if without Deck having to literally have to like fight and swing any sword or anything, if he would have just got that that freeze grenade, boom, he could have freezed it. And then the show at the end of the movie, towards the end of the movie, when you think Tessa is dead because the Callus ate it, she's not dead. She exploded a freeze grenade inside the belly of the Callus, therefore exploding it. No time to regenerate. We've literally seen this Callus get his head cut off by Deck and reconnect its fucking head. So the only way that you would have to do that is thinking of like some outside of the box type shit. So, but all in all, the Predators had the means to do it. I don't think that they took the idea, took the time to actually think about using that. Finding out Thea was there for the Callus. That was a not a heart-wrenching moment, but that was like a kind of like, damn, bitch, like, I ain't see that coming. Because you see when Thea finds her legs, she's trying to link the connection to get her legs back working, or to working with her body. You then see she's kind of making like a nervous looking face, and she's telling Deck, hey, you're gonna have to leave. You can't be here. And he's like, kind of like, what the fuck? And she's like, I just called my company, I just called my team, they're coming to come get me. And he's like, so you know where the Callus is. The Callus is, tell me where the Callus is. Like, she's like, I came here for the Callus too. Blah, blah, blah. So pretty much she's just withholding information at that point. But honestly, it goes back to almost like what Thea and Tessa were saying, that the reason why they have an advanced ability over some of the other synthetics is that they were made to express emotions, and not just for good reasons. They were used to express emotions to exploit the emotions of the other creatures. Pretty much to be the perfect spy, to tell you, hey, I'm on your side. I get it. And then stab you in the back. Oh yeah, Callus regeneration factor. There's nothing really to speak about. I already spoke about it. Callus has a regeneration factor that is like on par with like Wolverine and Sabretooth. Like literally Deck Deck would have did it. Deck would have did it. If it wouldn't have been for the regeneration factor, Deck would have killed the Callus. He would have been able to bring the Callus home, or bring proof home that he killed the Callus. He would have been able to do that if it wasn't for the regeneration factor. He first slits it down the I said sluts it. He first slits it down his abdomen, down his belly, like when he goes to slide up under it, and he does the infamous drag the knife attack. So first he does that, and then cuts the tail off. Tail grows back, cuts the head off. Head reconnects. Like, so literally he would have got it. He would have got it. I didn't like how Tessa knew stuff that Deck wasn't even telling Thea. Like, how did she know why Quay protected Deck? Like, how does she know? Like, if Deck isn't even sharing this information with Thea, how the fuck did she know? You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. How she knew he was the one that needed to be cold. How did she know? Those are two questions that I didn't get. Unless it was just because of the visible little mark right there. But I mean, because he's missing a fang. But I don't think that's a reason. Two other instances. Because I mean, if it wouldn't have been for Bud, the smaller Callus, spitting on Deck, that Callus would have killed Deck. So that's we're looking at 3 now. That's 3. And then 4, when Deck is on the ship with Thea and Tessa, and Tessa's like, well, we still need a sample. She was about to kill Deck. Deck was about to die on that motherfucking lab table. He was about to die right then and there. If it wouldn't have been for Thea, like, shutting down the stuff and whatnot. Like, he was about to die then. The new adaptations, because, you know, essentially, he didn't have a mask. Well, he had one. I don't know what he did with it, because I assume the mask that was on the ship was Quay, since that's Quay's ship. So he got himself a mask. Some of the creatures, some of the animals, some of the razor grass. He uses some of all that in adaptation with some of his newer gear, with some of his new gear. And honestly, it's a different take. It's a different take. Is it highly liked? But it's a different take. Big fighting machine reminds me of the Alien movie. When Deck is essentially trying to get Thea's legs to reconnect with her upper torso, you know, he's going all around the compound and stuff like that. But then when Tessa catches wind of this, she gets into this large machine that reminds me of one of the Alien movies, when Ripley's like, get away from her, you bitch. And she's like in that big robot machine fighting the queen alien, the queen xenomorph. I thought it was reminiscent of that. The moment of forgiveness, after you think that Tessa is dead because she literally just got swallowed by a Callus, the Callus actually walks towards Deck and Thea, and Bud is there as well. Actually walks towards them, and it snarls a little bit. But then Deck walks towards the Callus, and they put their, you know, head to head, and they're like, you know, that was just a moment of forgiveness, because it's like, I literally came here to kill you. I literally almost killed you. Like, it was really one of those moments. Tessa still being alive, because after they had their little dope, like, forehead to forehead moment, you see smoke start to come out the nostrils of the Callus. Tessa just initiated the freeze bomb inside the Callus and whatnot, and it was just ridiculous. Betrayed by my own sister. That was a little ironic that you want to say betrayed by my own sister when you're the one that betrayed her first. It's like, that was just like a, what? But Deck and Bud, they share a moment forehead to forehead, because essentially neither one of them has a family. I mean, Deck has a mom, Deck has a father. Well, not after he does what he does to him, or lets get done to him. But Bud doesn't have any family either. That was his mom that just exploded. So he sees his father for his cloak. That is, for the most part, that's some hardcore shit. Like, that's some hardcore shit. That's some gangster shit. Like, I didn't run from you. I pretty much got put on a ship and got thrown away from you and whatnot. But the fact of it is, I'm still owed my motherfucking my cloak. No, you're gonna have to give me my cloak. We can do this the easy way, we can do this the hard way. But the fact that he takes two of the Predators out, he takes two of his fellow Yautjas out, because before the father fights him, the father sends two, muscular-looking Yautjas, sends them at him, and he kills both of them. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I wonder, what is the average for the Yautjas in this clan? Because Deck is no slouch. Like, he handles his own. So I mean, like, what was something about him that needed to be cold? Unless it was just a fang. But how much time has passed? Because we see the Callus has grown substantially. From the Callus being a bipedal, a semi-bipedal animal creature, to now it is completely on all fours and is larger than Deck and Thea put together. And then Deck of the Yautja. We hear throughout the whole movie, I am Deck of the Yautja. Now you're Deck of the Yautja, and it's not yet. You gotta earn that yet. You gotta earn that qualification. So the fact that when he gets his cloak, father's dead, Thea looks at him and says, Deck of the Yautja. And he kind of has like this snarl kind of smile on, but then he looks, he said, like, it's like, nigga, you know what the fuck, nigga? Like, yes, like, Deck of the fucking Yautja, nigga. You did that shit. And then, last but not least, gotta talk about it. The movie pans out. You damn near think the movie is over. Movie comes back. All of a sudden, you see all these Predators, they're pulling out their swords. You see all the red just zoom, 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 zoom. They're pulling out their swords. You see this big ass spaceship come from, like, off the distance, off the view. And Thea looks at Deck and is like, more friends of yours? Deck doesn't even look at Thea. He says, no, it's my mother. That's just setting up. So that has to mean that the next Predator movies are going to have a female Yautja in them. Have to. Honestly, I'm a fan of the Predator movies. I'm a fan of this franchise. I'm a fan of sci-fi shit in general. But because of the fact that there's so many things that, for the most part, remind me of other movies, and then just, I don't know, just so many contradictions and whatnot, I give this movie an 8 out of 10. I give this movie an 8. Matter of fact, I give it a 7.5. I give it a 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. Because I feel like, honestly, there's some stuff that they could have brought in that. They could have put in that movie. But like, comment, follow. Go ahead, drop in the comments. You know what I mean? Hey, let me know what's another movie you want me to cover, and we can go on from there. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And y'all stay smooth.